It's Kevin McCullough on AM 970, The Answer.
You're listening to Kevin McCullough Radio, where we talk about breaking news as it happens, what it means, and why it matters.
Kevin McCullough, and here we go.
Obliterating confusion.
Amplifying truth.
And pursuing clarity.
Kevin McCullough, now.
Well, the bomb has dropped. The first indictments of the Robert Mueller investigations have been revealed. And I'm telling you, the world is over. Trump should resign. He should just walk away. It's done. Everybody's career is finished. All hail King Hillary. Or is it? Stay with us.
Binge thinking.
Kevin McCullough.
Something interesting is happening with this.
Kevin McCullough, let me start with you.
I found this thing at townhall.com by Kevin McCullough. The big dog has come out of nowhere.
Kevin McCullough,
I just want to help people think.
nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
He is playing the role as well as anybody could.
Kevin McCullough is a nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
The odds are he's right.
It's Kevin McCullough Radio.
We do have some evidence of collusion to the extent that Donald Trump Jr. was willing to take a meeting from whom he thought was representatives from the Russian government. But to your legal question, you cannot take a hostile foreign government, help from a hostile foreign government as a campaign in a federal presidential campaign.
Okay, that's one of the Democrats that are flapping his jaws today. Blah, 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 blah. Not making any sense, but that didn't ever stop Julian Epstein before. But Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us, welcoming you into a brand new edition of Kevin McCullough Radio. The big story of the day, Paul Manafort and a colleague and one other person have all been revealed as having been indicted by the Mueller grand jury and the investigation by the special counsel's office into collusion between Russia and Trump. Now, that's what the special counsel's office was set up to discuss. And last weekend, we got word that these things were coming down. How do we get word? Because someone leaked it. And what do former prosecutors have to say about leaks coming out of secretive grand jury scenarios? Cut one.
I will tell you this. The only conversation I've had with Robert Mueller, it was stressing to him the importance of cutting out the leaks with respect to serious investigations. So it is kind of ironic that the people charged with investigating the law and executing the law would violate the law. And make no mistake, disclosing grand jury material is a violation of the law. So as a former prosecutor, I'm disappointed that you and I are having the conversation because somebody violated their oath of secrecy.
Thank you, Trey Gowdy, bulldog prosecutor. Knows the law back and forth. He serves as the head of the committee now that Devin Nunes used to, and this is why Congress needs to be looking at this. By the way, we've got a slam bang show for you today. The top legal and law enforcement minds in the country to discuss. Katie Fang will be with us. She's the chief legal analyst for NBC and MSNBC networks. Don't hold that against her. She will be here to tell us the absolute legalities of the indictment as handed down today. And then Bernie Carrick is going to join us, former NYPD commissioner. He's worked with a few grand juries in his lifetime, and he has uncovered some pretty astounding figures as what this 31-page indictment has really, truly cost us. I'll ask him about that coming up today as well. It's also David Fisher. It's a Money Monday. There's some big news that we've got to get to in the markets as well. But this is why this is so important. You spend millions upon millions of dollars to have the special counsel's office acquire 17 top litigators. Now, if you go look at the 17 guys that are on the Mueller team, you will find reputable, big-time, big-money lawyers, many of them former Hillary Clinton advisors, ironically enough. But 17 of them, including Mr. Mueller himself, that put this together. And I've had not one but three sources tell me today, I'm not an attorney, but I've had not one but three sources tell me today that this indictment could have written by a junior prosecutor in the Justice Department's offices. A junior-level prosecutor could have put this together. So we're spending a lot of money billing the government top dollar for every hour that they're working on this to get not a lot so far. I think the junior prosecutor makes about $1.60 a year. We're spending something like $20,000 an hour for the special counsel legal fees. That's what you and I are paying for. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. Got any thoughts to this, reactions? 888-340-3373. Also, my email address, kmcradio@gmail.com, always open to you. Now, I want to get into what is really probably the bigger play here that Mueller is trying to put across. And Julian Epstein, appearing this morning on Happening Now on Fox News Channel, big show that I have big love for. They have me on a regular basis. Julian Epstein appeared this morning and explained what the real purpose of indicting Manafort is all about. Because let's be very clear. The indictment doesn't mention Trump. It barely mentions the Russians. There may be one connection to Russia in the entirety of the whole thing. It doesn't mention the campaign, though the very tail end of the timeline overlaps slightly. But every piece of the indictment addresses Paul Manafort's personal financial picture. What he made consulting not the Russians, what he made consulting the Ukrainians. And it might be that one of those Ukraine citizens that he was advising may have had favorable views of Russia. But that's the extent of Trump and Russia in this indictment. It's really more about the Ukraine and Manafort. Eric Erickson wrote a piece for Fox News as it was breaking this morning. He said, this is Manafort's indictment, not Trump's. So why are they going after this behavior that's about 90% prior to the campaign, has nothing to do with the campaign? Oh, by the way, you know that the campaign fired him, right? I saw one snotty DNC spokesperson on with Kayleigh McEnany and Harris Faulkner earlier today, and he kept saying, well, you know, he was the head of the campaign. Well, not really. Not when the actual election was held. That little spark plug that can was Kellyanne Conway, who's as clean and who's as clean as a whistle. Little Sunday school girl. Paul Manafort was manning the post for a period of time. But it was his non-disclosure of some of those ties to the Ukrainians that actually irritated Trump and got him fired. So what's the play? If Manafort didn't do anything on behalf of the campaign to bring Russia into collusion with Trump, what's the real play that Mueller is trying to put forward here? Julian Epstein, DNC hack, leftist commentator on Fox News earlier today explained how. Cut 2.
There's nothing here that squarely goes at the question.
Stop the soundbite. What did he say about the Russia collusion with Trump? Play it again from the start.
There's nothing here
that
squarely goes at the question of collusion. I think the question here is whether Robert Mueller will try to get Manafort to be a cooperating witness. Remember, Manafort was at that famous
Stop the tape. So what they're going to do here, and this is a little bit of an insidious practice when it comes to this type of law. But what they're going to do here is they're going to say, okay, Mr. Manafort, you see all of these charges we put out here, conspiracy and all this. If you make us go to trial, we're going to push for the maximum sentence on every one of these that we get you convicted of. Now, by the way, let me just point out something. It's much easier to get an indictment than it is to get a guilty verdict. This is the easy part for Mueller. You can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. How many times have you heard that saying? To scare Paul Manafort into say, because these are charges that are alleged, that he didn't report this money laundering, that he didn't report the taxes on certain things. And if he's got records, if his accountant has records and he can prove otherwise, this is all hot air from them. So remember, indictments are easy. Convictions are much more difficult. But what Julian Epstein says at the beginning of that soundbite is really true. They drag him in today, right? And they say, these are the 12 counts we have against you, but if you'll cooperate with us, if you give us what we want, we'll make sure that we go light on the sentencing. We'll make sure that some of these disappear. They're not interested in the truth. They're interested in getting Trump. They're interested in turning someone into a witness on their behalf because they've been able to find no actual evidence of collusion between the president and the Russians. That's the problem. This dog and pony show is as much a circus right now as it was when it began, and everybody was like, hey, you haven't found anything. Hundreds of thousands of documents, 4,000 pages of transcripts, and they've got Manafort on old tax stuff and money laundering from consultancy that he didn't report. I'm Kevin McCullough.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
A full closure in New Jersey of Route 1 northbound as you travel into Old Post Road in Edison. That is because of a gas main break. Now stay away from this. We're looking at a multi-mile jam on the northbound side into the area. So try and grab 27. It's not perfect, my friends, but it is better for you. Southbound Parkway, we're slow from 143 down towards 135. And we're looking at some pretty heavy volume on the southbound western spur and eastern spurs of the turnpike from 16 down towards 15. Across the Hudson River, we're looking at delays about 20 to 30 minutes outbound at the Holland Tunnel. Citybound side, we're okay. Outbound Lincoln Tunnel, about a 15 to 20-minute backup. Southbound West Side Highway, that's a slow ride off the GW Bridge right down into the 120s. That's all because of an accident being cleared. Northbound on the West Side Highway, we're slow from the 60s up into the 120s, then slow again from the 140s on up to the GW Bridge. FDR northbound 96th Street, a crash. Stays heavy up to the RFK Triborough Bridge. And now you know how not to go. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
Let's face it, we love Alexa, and we love to let her find your favorite radio station. This one, of course. We love it, too, when she finds us. But she could find us easier if we taught her a simple skill. To get started, simply say, Alexa, enable the Answer New York skill. After she confirms, you can then say, Alexa, play The Answer New York. That's all you have to do, and Alexa will learn how to find us. You can listen to us through your Amazon Echo, Echo Show, Echo Dot, and Amazon Tap devices. Alexa, what is your favorite radio station?
That's easy. AM 970, The Answer.
So what would you do with an extra $500 a month in your budget? $500. This isn't hypothetical, by the way. This is something you may need to think about very soon if you decide to become a member of MediShare. MediShare is a way to pay for your health care, and typically it costs $500 less per month for a family versus other health care plans. So seriously, think about this. You could pay off loans, pay down a mortgage, save the money for retirement, donate to charity. That would be a big deal. But you know what? Here's the best thing. MediShare works. It has 250,000 members, and it's growing fast. With MediShare, not only do you save, you don't have to pay for things you don't believe in either, and that is a beautiful thing too. So here's how you can find out more, and you might actually wind up saving even more than $500 a month. So check into it. Here's the number. Call 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. Now available in Montana. Call 844-41-BIBLE.
If you love to travel, then you've got to check out Biaggi Luggage. Great, lightweight, durable luggage that folds up for easy storage. Biaggi's best-selling bag, the Biaggi Zip Sack, is a full-sized, four-wheeled suitcase that folds up into a pouch so small that it can even fit into a drawer. The Zip Sack, as well as all the other Biaggi products, from carry-ons to large suitcases, come in a variety of styles and colors and make great gifts. To see the complete line of Biaggi luggage that folds, go online to Biaggi.com. That's Biaggi, Biaggi.com.
This is Michael Riedel of On the Town, brought to you by Edward Albee's masterpiece, Three Tall Women, a really terrific play. It stars three superb actresses, Glenda Jackson, Laurie Metcalf, and Allison Pill. Three Tall Women is coming to Broadway this spring. To get tickets, go to telecharge.com. Don't miss this play.
Geico presents Unhelpful Home Improvement How-Tos.
Overhanging trees present a real danger. During high winds, falling branches can damage roofs and windows. So today, I'll show you how to protect your home by wrapping it in bubble packaging. All you need is a staple gun and 142,000 feet of bubble packaging. Let's get started.
You could try to protect your home with bubble packaging, or you could get covered for personal property damage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Call Geico and see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
Want more of AM 970 The Answer and our hosts? Then interact with us. Follow us on Twitter for breaking news, what's coming up on the radio, thoughts from our hosts, deals from our advertisers, and more. Our handle is at AM 970 The Answer. Come on, tweet with us. Syracuse football. Heard exclusively on AM 970 The Answer. Breaking news as it happens. You're listening to Kevin McCullough Radio.
It is kind of ironic that the people charged with investigating the law and executing the law would violate the law. And make no mistake, disclosing grand jury material is a violation of the law.
So says one former prosecutor, Trey Gowdy, on Fox News Sunday yesterday. But a lot of prosecutors and a lot of defense lawyers and a lot of armchair legal minds are all sitting and dissecting the top story today, which is that we finally have the big nuclear bomb that was supposed to go off and ruin President Trump. We finally now know what we are, according to one source that I've spoken with this morning, may be billing our country upwards of $20,400 an hour for all of the 17 members he's assembled, charging full rate to the Department of Justice for their services. What is in this indictment? What is the big story here? Let's turn to one of our favorite former prosecutors, legal contributor to NBC and MSNBC. We don't hold that against her. Katie Fang, welcome back. Glad you're with us.
Thank you for not holding that against me. I'll always speak the truth, no matter where I am.
No, that's true. And we started following you when you were at another network, so we're very grateful for your time. Sure. Katie, let me ask you this. First of all, the 12 counts. What's in here? What's the real meat here? What are we talking about?
So there's 12 counts, and I'm going to put it to bed now. There was a lot of speculation, innuendo, that this was going to speak directly to collusion with Russia, and I'm going to tell you right now, in the 31 pages of this indictment that's been unsealed this morning, there is nothing to do with collusion with Russia over the presidential campaign. So everybody who's kind of been chomping at that bit needs to calm down. It needs to put that to rest. It does deal with very egregious violations, though, of the Foreign Agent Registration Act and dealing with the Bank Secrecy Act. It has to do with money laundering, this idea that Paul Manafort and his business associate, Richard Gates, got literally tens of millions of dollars and funneled it through foreign corporations, failed to advise the IRS and report that on his income tax returns. They both did, both of their income tax returns. And what they did was they lived the high life, bought condos in Soho and bought houses, and are you ready for this? Spent in excess of $1.5 million on men's clothing. And basically they didn't report it to the IRS, and so they're in trouble, and they're looking at a decent amount of time because of it.
Yeah. Well, and just to be clear, when you go back and you say, put the first thing to rest, I don't even think Russia appears in the indictment. The president's name doesn't appear, but there is a country there. It's Ukraine. That's the country that Manafort was doing the consulting and lobbying on behalf of. And, of course, this money laundering stuff, this has to do with they made money, they stored it offshore, they didn't bring it onshore, pay the taxes as reported. It's basically a guy that just was trying to hide money from the United States government. And did it all or did it not all occur before he was ever part of the campaign?
So the indictment runs from 2006, 2005 through 2016. There's an argument that could be made that it had some overlap, but fundamentally, look, Manafort was running that campaign, fine, whatever. But you have to have more than just innuendo. You're going to have, and remember, I always say this to you, you need facts and evidence. You need to have a direct tie. Even if you can prove it circumstantially, you got to have some evidence that there's a direct link. So as I sit here today on October 30th, 2017, I don't have that evidence right now that would link Trump and his campaign to any collusion with Russia based upon this indictment. I do have two dirty birds in Paul Manafort and Richard Gates, and they need to do the time for what they've done wrong, and they need to forfeit these things, and they need to pay the piper. But that's it so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, Katie, always concise in your analysis of it. Now, let me ask you, given that the special counsel, from what I understand, was empowered to go wherever the facts would lead, Is it likely, from your perspective, that we might still see some work in the special counsel's office on the Uranium One issue for Hillary, or even the payment for the dossier that kind of was the basis for why Mueller's office was empowered?
For the Steele dossier. So the short answer should be yes. A special counsel is given the wide authority, discretion, and ability to follow rabbits down rabbit holes and see where they lead. Thus the reason why, even though their original charge in terms of their mission was to deal with these allegations of collusion with Russia over the presidential campaign, when they saw violations of federal law, they charged Manafort and Gates with said violations. And then, for example, we also know George Papadopoulos this morning, his information was unsealed. He's pled guilty in terms of the false statements he made to the FBI and DOJ when he was being interviewed. So, I mean, the bottom line is this. You can't ignore other crimes. And frankly, if you are a fair and impartial special counsel, it doesn't make a difference, Kevin, if you're a Republican who's at fault or a Democrat at fault. If it ends up being Hillary Clinton at fault, then you should investigate that as well. But you also should investigate it if it involves Trump and the campaign.
Yeah, well, and I think that everybody is well aware that that's been going on. But it's the other part that is a little bit newer. And I do have this question. If Comey and Mueller were directly involved in the FBI around the time that the Uranium One deal went through, should he recuse himself from this special counsel's office as it relates to that investigation?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, you know, you always want to avoid any appearance of impropriety or a conflict of interest. You always make sure that if you're in a position where you are charged with doing an investigation to bring to light the truth, that you're doing so without any fear of anybody pointing a finger back at you saying that there was a conflict of interest or there was something improper about it. So I think everybody who's involved in any type of these special investigations needs to make sure that they can avoid those appearances of impropriety in every way possible.
Yeah. But to be clear, as we are sitting here with Katie Fang, who is the legal analyst for NBC and MSNBC, she's also on the Today Show, NBC Nightly News. You'll see her all over the NBC properties. As you have just said, as far as anything in the indictment proper, there is no connection between the Trump campaign and Russia, which was the basis for why the special counsel was empowered to begin with.
Yeah, and you know, the only thing I would say is, look, a lot of people are really relying upon the fact that there's this phrase that's contained within the indictment, quote, together with others, quote, together with others. And so everybody's trying to sit here and kind of fuel the flames of conspiracy and say, who are the others? Well, listen, there's two companies in D.C. that were specifically hired by Manafort and Gates' company to be able to lobby members of Congress. Now, I would like to know who those companies are, and I want to know who those members of Congress are. I mean, there are people whose identities are still at large and have not been answered, but right now this only deals with the certain violations of federal law that deals with money laundering, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and the Bank Secrecy Act, and basically tax fraud. That's it.
Yeah, not a very complicated case. In fact, it kind of sounds like something a junior prosecutor could have done in the Justice Department for like $160,000 for the year instead of $20,400 an hour. But that's a different discussion. Katie Fang, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, it's Kevin McCullough Radio. Much more on this top story of the day. Don't go away.
News, opinion, passion. This is AM 970, The Answer.
We have generally clear skies and 54 degrees on this Monday evening. What's going on? We have the answer. Officials say this morning's water main break in Newark, New Jersey will take a few days to repair at least. Newark Public Safety Director Anthony Ambrose says the break in the 200 block of North 5th Street is expected to be completed in the next 3 to 5 days. Newark police and firefighters responded to the water main break around 4:30 this morning as some cars and local businesses got flooded. The water has since receded, but drivers are advised to plan alternative routes during the repairs. 2 NYPD detectives accused of raping an 18-year-old Brooklyn woman in their police van are now in police custody. Sarah Lee Kessler has more.
Detectives Eddie Martins and Richard Hall surrendered this morning to face charges. The woman says they drove her to a secluded area after arresting her in Bath Beach last month for possession of marijuana and Xanax. She claims one raped her and both forced her to perform sex acts in return for walking free. The detectives, who've been suspended, admit having sex with the woman but claim it was consensual. The woman is suing the NYPD and the city for $50 million. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio, New York.
In sports, the Islanders host the Las Vegas Golden Knights at Barclays Center. You can catch all the great hockey action tonight right here on AM 970, The Answer, beginning at 7 o'clock. NBA action, the Knicks host the Denver Nuggets at Madison Square Garden. Taking a look at the traffic on the FDR Drive, traveling northbound, a slow ride from the 30s up into the 90s. That's all because of an accident being cleared. Southbound, we're slow 130s into the 90s with a separate crash. Northbound West Side Highway, we're slow from the 90s to the GW Bridge. Southbound heavy off the bridge down into the 130s with a collision being worked on. Mostly clear skies tonight with an overnight low of 46. Sunshine tomorrow with a high of 57. Increasing clouds on Wednesday with a high of 56. We'll warm it up 10 degrees on Thursday with cloudy skies and a high of 66. And now you know what's going on. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
New York's homeless crisis is out of control. City Hall doesn't support our men and women in uniform, and the days when you can get to work on time are a distant memory. We need to turn things around and quickly. I'm City Councilman Joe Borelli, and I'm running for re-election. I fight for the outer boroughs. I fight for Staten Island. As the listeners of this station know, City Hall is out of touch with what we stand for. If you don't want to see every aspect of city government dominated by liberal Democrats, make sure you vote for me on the Republican, Conservative, Independents, or Reform Party lines. Together, let's take on de Blasio and the Democrats.
It's the final countdown.
To learn more, visit josephborelli.com or find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
The final countdown.
Paid for by Borelli 2017.
Tired of dealing with dummies? Experience the smart way to buy a car at Route 22 Toyota. No hidden fees, no back and forth, no pressure, and no wasting time with dummies. Alex Cancella, the general manager, prides himself on his low lease offers and 0% APR financing for up to 72 months for qualified buyers. And now my buddy Alex wants you to experience their new smart way to service. He's taking the same smart approach that's been so successful in selling cars into the service bay. So he said, Joe, I'm going to let you give the first 5 callers in the next 5 minutes a free multi-point inspection and oil change and filter if they call 855-621-9949 and say Joe sent me. 855-621-9949. In the next 5 minutes, get a free oil change and filter on me. 855-621-9949 and say, this one's on Joe. Route 22 Toyota, Route 22 West in Hillside, New Jersey, or at Route22Toyota.com. Tell them Joe sent you for the free oil change. All European makes excluded.
AM 970, The Answer. What you need to know when you need it. It's Kevin McCullough Radio.
So glad you're with us. Continuing the top story of the day, what does it all mean that these indictments have been unsealed? And also, very interesting statement that was made by Trey Gowdy earlier today concerning some additional wrongs that may have been committed here. Alex, hit that Trey Gowdy cut for me.
I will tell you this. The only conversation I've had with Robert Mueller, it was stressing to him the importance of cutting out the leaks with respect to serious investigations. So it is kind of ironic that the people charged with investigating the law and executing the law would violate the law. And make no mistake, disclosing grand jury material is a violation of the law. So as a former prosecutor, I'm disappointed that you and I are having the conversation because somebody violated their oath of secrecy.
I want to get some law enforcement perspective on this. Bernard Carrick is the former NYPD commissioner. He was on duty on the day of 9/11, and he also has served administrations on issues of national security as well, and rejoins us at the Kevin McCullough microphone. Bernie, thanks for being here. What's your response to Trey Gowdy? Did the leaks from the special counsel's office violate laws going into the weekend?
I think it did. I think it did. I think any prosecutor, any longtime law enforcement officer would agree. I was surprised that information had been leaked. We live in an environment today where we're finding more and more prosecutors that violate the law to enforce them. And whether it's this or whether it's other things that's been happening over the last several years, it's wrong. It's illegal. Shouldn't be happening. And the unfortunate thing is nobody's going to be held accountable for it. Less than 2% of the United States prosecutors that are found to engage in some kind of prosecutorial misconduct are ever dealt with administratively or legally. So it's a shame.
We're speaking with Bernard Kerik, and the discussion has to do, of course, with the leaks and the indictments that were unsealed today, early this morning, in fact. Bernie, there have been a couple of people that have made this observation, but the 31-page indictment itself of Mr. Manafort and his colleague does not seem to be a terribly complicated legal process. We've spent a lot of money to get this 31-page document done. Has it been worth it?
Well, here's the concerns I have as an American taxpayer and as somebody that knows the system, and I know it pretty well. From a legal perspective, a law enforcement perspective, but I've been on the other side of this as well. And I will tell you that I am stunned. I'm actually stunned that Mueller's investigation has produced a document and an investigation, an indictment that a first-line assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York could have done, in the same amount of time. This guy was brought in, this team was brought in to look for collusion, look for campaign wrongs in the Trump campaign, and things that have been investigated by the House and Senate committees, 3 or 4 different committees that have found nothing. And they now produced an indictment of Paul Manafort of things that happened prior to him ever joining the campaign that has nothing to do with collusion, nothing to do with Russia, nothing to do with the campaign itself. It's insane because this is costing tens of millions of dollars. And I don't know the exact relationship or circumstance of Mueller's investigators and himself. Are they getting paid full freight? These guys make $1,200 an hour, some of them. We're paying that for these guys to go out and do an investigation like this that a junior line assistant in the Southern District could have done in 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So that's a real concern. And if this is all they have, and I'm confident at this point, I'm pretty confident this is all they have. If that's the case, if I was the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General, I'd be looking to wrap this thing up real quick because if these guys are getting paid full freight, they have no incentive to wrap it up, no incentive to slow it down. They can just keep going on forever. That's not what they're paid to do. They were paid to investigate collusion, corruption within the campaign, between the Trump campaign and Russia. And if there's nothing there, they know that by now. They have to, or they're complete idiots.
Does it reflect poorly on the Assistant DA Rosenstein or Trump if they decide to terminate the special counsel at this point?
Well, of course, politically, if the president did it, politically everybody will jump on the bandwagon saying he's interfering or obstructing. You've got to have common sense here. I think Rosenstein's got to look at this and make a decision. Is it worth it?
I think you're right. Bernie Kerik, thanks so much. Kevin McCullough Radio.
Dennis Prager delivers the news you will not hear anywhere else.
Well, the vast majority of Americans don't know the things that I report to you every day. They have no idea of what is happening to their society. They don't. 99% of the country doesn't know any of this stuff. It's quite the problem. That's why we have to make this stuff known.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Michael Medved at 3 on AM 970. The Answer.
Hello? Anyone there?
Hey! United Healthcare heading your way.
Thank goodness.
Lost in the giant Medicare maze?
It's so complicated.
No worries. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
I'm so glad you found me.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
Hello? Anyone there?
Hey! United Healthcare heading your way.
Thank goodness.
Lost in the giant Medicare maze?
It's so complicated.
No worries. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
I'm so glad you found me.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. Have you ever had a legal question pertaining to elder law or estate law and wondered to yourself, what's the best course of action to take? Every Thursday during Kevin McCullough Radio at 5 o'clock on AM 970 The Answer, you'll hear Mike Connors of Connors & Sullivan Attorneys at Law answer a listener's actual question. If you have a legal question for Mike Connors, the Ask the Lawyer host, simply email the question to askmikeconnors@gmail.com or call the Legal Question of the Week phone line at 347-735-MIKE. That's 347-735-6453. And don't forget to tune in to Ask the Lawyer with Mike Connors every Saturday evening at 6 on AM 970 The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
They really have made a difference. I mean, when I started taking them, I could not tie my shoes because of the knee pain. I have arthritis in it. And I actually bent down and tied my shoes by mistake. I was so used to not being able to do it. I couldn't believe I did it. And that was shortly after starting the Balanced Nature.
What are you waiting for? Good health is just a phone call away. Don't miss your opportunity to get a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code The Answer. That's balanceofnature.com. Promo code The Answer.
The largest custom window covering company in North America, with over 25 years in business, has teamed up with the most established name in smart home technology. Together, we're introducing Smart Shades by Budget Blinds and Lutron. Now, opening and closing your shades with a touch of a button is easier than ever. Program them to open and close for safety, energy savings, and peace of mind. They work with so many smart home devices. You can control them from anywhere in the world with your smartphone. And since they're cordless, they're a great choice for kids and pets. Smart shades are so easy to use and easy to afford. Get style and service for every budget. Get smart shades from Budget Blinds and Lutron. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS now for your free smart home consultation. 855-BUDGET-BLINDS. Or go online to budgetblinds.com. At participating independently owned and operated franchises only. Ask for details.
Our hosts all look like GQ models. See them now at am970theanswer.com.
Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world,
If it's happening in New York or across the globe, learn why it matters first on Kevin McCullough Radio.
So glad to have you with us. Welcome to a brand new busy week. Of course, the indictment sucking up all the oxygen in most of the room, but there is some financial news that's still important to be taking note of today, hence why we talk about money and markets on Monday with David Fisher of Landmark Capital. And David, it's good to have you back. Thanks for being here. Last week, there was some economic reports that came out. How did we round out the week last week?
Well, we had great news that the economy grew in the third quarter at 3%, considering, we had two major hurricanes that could possibly induce a slowdown. Those are now in the rearview mirror, Kevin. Looking at the components, personal consumption rose 2.4%, which is above what they expected was 2.2%. Some of this is preliminaries estimating that the back-to-back storms have caused losses of $120 billion in privately fixed assets, and the government lost about $10.4 billion in their assets. So getting all that put back together is going to spur the economy, and consumer spending is up as the largest gain since 2009.
Well, and this is the second quarter. This is the second quarter in a row that they had 3% growth. I mean, Trump's goal coming into office was to get to 3% by the end of the first term. Here he is at the end of the first year, and he's already getting that kind of growth in back-to-back quarters.
They said it wasn't possible, and he's, obviously defying the odds.
Right.
Everybody, it's against him. Part of the consumer spending gain is in reference to the aftermath of the hurricane in Texas and Florida, replacing damaged motor vehicles. There's a spurring of economic growth of buying of that. So home sales, pending home sales did plunge last month to the lowest since January 15th. So home sales are slowing down, but the recovery is definitely hinging on some of the hurricanes there.
Gotcha. Well, let's turn to this week. You've got a lot of things on the docket. The Trump tax plan needs to start being addressed now that they got the budget signed. You've got company earnings that are going to come out this week. You've got a Fed meeting this week. What should we be looking for in the next 5, 6, 7 days?
There's going to be some headwinds against President Trump's tax cut because there's a $1.5 trillion problem of revenue of loss over the next decade, and the government's going to spend more. They're estimating the congressional budget by 2018 deficits are going to now grow from $487 billion and quadruple by 2027. So this is a result of Social Security and the age of baby boomers needing that money to retire off of. Moving on, earnings this week, we're going to have about 136 of the 500 companies in the S&P 500, including Apple, that are going to report their company earnings on Thursday of this week. The Fed on Wednesday, though, is coming out with an open market meeting. Nothing major is expected, but on the next day, on Thursday, we're going to see who President Trump is going to nominate as the next Federal Reserve chairman. And many people think that's going to probably be Jerome Powell, who's leading the pack in the early polls, saying that he has an 80% chance of being confirmed by the Senate. Ironically, when this came out on Friday, gold jumped $7. So this should be good for gold.
Just because of Powell? Powell's potential nomination made gold jump $7 by itself?
Just by that announcement in the last 45 minutes of trading, you can see a direct result of that. What does that say about him? Is he not as friendly to the markets? What is it that gold buyers liked about him being put in there? Well, he's going to probably follow in success of what current Janet Yellen is doing right now. He's going to probably continue with low interest rates, reducing the balance sheet for the central bank.
Gotcha.
Nothing major, but this is still long-term bullish for gold.
And then you've got the big announcement that's coming out of China, the Petro Yuan. Describe what that is for people that haven't been hearing our conversations in the last couple of weeks, David.
Well, it's the same thing as that we had the Petro Dollar, where countries could exchange their dollars that they buy in oil for gold. But that window was closed in 71, so the petrodollar just was trading on just the U.S. dollar not being backed by gold. And China now is launching, and they announced last week they're going to launch the Petro Yuan in 2 months. Already 6,000 trading accounts has been set up to prepare for the yuan-denominated oil contract, where China will make payment in oil, and they're the largest importer of oil in the world. They specifically receive 1 million barrels of oil a day from Saudi Arabia, and they're moving aggressively. They will make payment in yuan, and the yuan now can be converted to gold. So think with me on this one. Billionaire investor last week on CNBC, Prince Al-Lead, said that he would be not surprised if China doesn't buy the 5% IPO in Aramco, which is the largest IPO coming mid next year. The Saudis it's $1 trillion venture. They're going to let loose of about $100 billion. And Reuters got wind of that China wants to buy the whole thing. So what this would do, according to Carl Weinberg, chief economist, managing director of high-frequency economics, he says he believes that the pricing of Yuan in oil coming as soon as Saudi accepts this move, the Chinese will compel them to do so. The whole rest of the oil market will move along with them. So we will see, unfortunately, a big shift away from the dollar and a strong shift into the yuan, which could propel them to compete with the U.S. dollar. And certainly, if Saudi doesn't choose to participate in this, and here's the key, Kevin, they lose the trade of their largest client, China. So they're kind of almost forced into accepting the yuan by the means of they need these finances to keep their company afloat and their country moving progressively.
Yeah. Well, I've said it for a long time. The Chinese have been playing chess while the rest of us have been playing checkers, and it's starting to show, and it's going to impact gold, friend. Read all about it in David's brand new newsletter, Black Gold for Yellow Gold, the trade that changes the world. You can get that at no cost, 844-604-2575. And the brand new 7th edition of The Coming Bail-In is now out. You can get that for free as well. 844-604-2575 or landmarkgold.com. That's 844-604-2575. And request the new newsletter and the 7th edition of The Coming Bail-In. And David Fisher, always good to get the update from you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin McCullough Radio continues.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
In general, we're looking at some very heavy volume on both sides of the West Side Highway from 96th Street up into the George Washington Bridge. Northbound is just a bumper-to-bumper afternoon-evening ride. Southbound's bumper-to-bumper. Oh, it's getting better, but it was bumper-to-bumper coming down from the 150s into the 90s because of an accident that looks like it finally cleared. On the FDR northbound, we're slow from the 20s up to the RFK Triborough Bridge, then slow again 150s to the GW Bridge. Southbound Bronx River Parkway just south of the Cross Bronx Expressway, an accident. Westbound on the Cross Bronx, we're jammed up from the Bronx River right across to the George Washington Bridge. Across the Hudson River, here are the numbers. GW Bridge coming into Manhattan, really not too bad of a ride. Coming back to New Jersey, both levels are a little sluggish across the span. Lincoln Tunnel, 30 minutes inbound, 15 minutes outbound. Holland Tunnel, 15 minutes in, and that is from both approaches, and it looks like close to a half hour as you go back into New Jersey. And now you know how not to go. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
Are you looking for a radio show that gives you straight talk, common sense, and the facts? Are you looking for a media outlet which offers all points of view? If the answer is yes, then listen to the Cats Roundtable every Sunday morning starting at 8:30 right here on AM 970, The Answer. The Cats Roundtable is hosted by John Katzimatidis, a successful businessman who came to this country as an immigrant and built a multi-billion-dollar business empire. He's met presidents, world leaders, governors, mayors, congressmen, state legislators, and you'll hear them all on the Cats Roundtable. Republicans, Democrats, independents, conservatives, liberals, and everything else you can imagine. You won't just hear their take on the news. You'll hear them make the news, whether it's local, national news, or international news. You can read about it in the newspaper on Monday, but hear it first on the Cats Roundtable. Sunday mornings at 8:30, right after Morano in the Morning. Only on AM 970, The Answer.
Tired of dealing with dummies? Experience the smart way to buy a car at Route 22 Toyota. No hidden fees, no back and forth, no pressure, and no wasting time with dummies. Alex Cancella, the general manager, prides himself on his low lease offers and 0% APR financing for up to 72 months for qualified buyers. And now my buddy Alex wants you to experience their new smart way to service. He's taking the same smart approach that's been so successful in selling cars into the service bay. So he said, Joe, I'm going to let you give the first 5 callers in the next 5 minutes a free multi-point inspection and oil change and filter if they call 855-621-9949 and say, Joe sent me. 855-621-9949 in the next 5 minutes. Get a free oil change and filter on me. 855-621-9949 and say, this one's on Joe. Route 22 Toyota, Route 22 West in Hillside, New Jersey, or at Route22Toyota.com. Tell them Joe sent you for the free oil change. All European makes excluded.
Eye on Real Estate, New York Radio's longest-running real estate show, is your source for expert advice on buying and selling real estate just about anywhere. And listeners agree.
Dear Dottie, Eye on Real Estate lights up my Saturday. When I listen to your program, I relive the precious times when my Italian-American father would instruct me to only buy prime real estate, even if it meant spending my last dollar. I did learn my lesson well and bought in Cranberry, New Jersey. Dottie, keep up the good work, and may God truly bless you.
Dottie, last year my wife and I caught your show when we were discussing how to stage a house for sale, and we followed your advice to a T. And guess what? We sold the house within 2 weeks. We love you, Dottie.
Dottie Herman's on your side, working hard to bring you the best real estate information from all sources, including folks just like you. Eye on Real Estate with Dottie Herman, Saturday mornings at 10 on AM 970, The Answer.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. I feel like I'm choking.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Jay Sekulow live is next on AM 970, The Answer. What you need to know when you need it. It's Kevin McCullough Radio.
Kevin McCullough, the China yen, man, that thing is going to be gold standard backed. My prediction is that's where they're headed with that, and that's going to end up being a big deal. Anyway, the Black Gold for Yellow Gold newsletter, again, if you'd like it, 844-604-2575 or landmarkgold.com. Earlier in the hour, appreciate Katie Fang and Bernie Carrick being with us. And I also meant to make mention of this because this is also a new wrinkle. The Democratic power lobbyist, Tony Podesta, announced, it's mid-afternoon, I guess, announced that he was stepping down from the Podesta Group. What is the Podesta Group? Well, it's very significant. It is the marketing firm, polling firm, campaign firm, lobbying firm that he and his brother John have both been part of. And the reason that he's stepping down is because Special Counsel Mueller has announced that he and the group are also under investigation. He told the firm this morning in kind of a quiet meeting that he was leaving, and then they were going to start contacting clients. I think they were going to try to do that before the Politico report came out. But he's handing over full operational control to the longtime CEO of the company. Why is this significant? Because Tony Podesta would be the first Democratic personality under investigation by the so far very unimpressive special counsel operation being run by Robert Mueller. In fact, I would go so far as to argue that unless he did make the uranium one and the dossier issue, those two issues, unless he makes those the almost exclusive focus of the next season of the special counsel's office, it should be shuttered permanently. Rod Rosenstein needs to shut that thing down. Because if a junior prosecutor at Justice could write the indictment against Manafort, if they choose to, proceed with it, we don't need to be spending, more money in 8 hours than what it would cost to get a junior prosecutor to write it in an entire year. $20,000+ an hour being spent in the special counsel's office, just in the retaining of the 17 council members that they have. Pretty insidious. Anyway, it's hard to believe that this is where all of these many months of investigation have landed, but that's it. So just remember today, friend, the big Trump-Russia bomb that was supposed to go off, it's really not about them at all. It's about Manafort and the Ukraine and Mueller still having a job, evidently. I'm Kevin McCullough. We'll see you next time.